The Wellness Show, episode 164. Welcome to The Wellness Show, a podcast on health and wealth. I'm your host, Tyhson Banighen, the founder of the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy. Join me as we get the latest insight, tips, and strategies from wellness providers, coaches, and successful, heart-centered entrepreneurs, and much, much more. Welcome back, Jeanna Kuleen, to the show. We've had conversations before, and we just had a really interesting pre-conversation as well. And the topic for today is the mind-body-soul connection. And part of the discussion was, why are we saying soul rather than spirit? So back to you, Jenna. Give us a bit of introduction, and let's go on to why are we talking about soul rather than spirit?
I'm really recognizing a lot of people are systematically, oh, my soul, something feels right or feels wrong, or I'm not necessarily hearing people talk about spirit. And to me, that's really interesting, because that is an insight for me as a practitioner, as an empath, that people are starting to tap in again. They're starting to tap into their higher self again, which I really believe is direct relationship and communication with soul. It's beautiful because it's not necessarily a programmed thought process. It truly is their truth. And the more conversation I have with people, even with myself, spirit is one thing. I almost feel like spirit now is what we're giving off. Soul is what is really brewing inside. It's our deepest connections. And talking with more and more people, that's similar to what they are sensing and what they are feeling. I wonder if part of it is because we are growing exponentially right at this time. And we're really coming back to almost basics.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting comment, given the fact that a lot of us were at one period, not that long ago, were able to manifest like crazy. Where money literally just arrived in the bank. We were just following our passion and really didn't have to worry about it. And then something has shifted, and understand, but all of a sudden we were asked to go upscale energetically, sort of like on a higher level on the spiral. And then all of a sudden, what used to work to manifest money doesn't work anymore, and we're being asked to come at a totally different way, which is part of what I think you're talking about, is that deep soul connection. There has to be alignment there with integrity, or we are not allowed to manifest the way that we used to before. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're finding in your life?
I am very much so. I am finding that the more control I try to put in a situation, the more it doesn't happen. More and more and more. And I am finding that if I think of something or I sense something, I know it's a direct message for me to follow. And I have to follow without question. And that is really hard to do as a human, because my logic comes into play. I'm a businesswoman. I want to know how much, when, and why. And what is my business going to get out of it? And at times I can't even ask those answers because they're not there. But I know I have to follow the path that's in front of me. So
yeah, this flies in the face of everything that you learned in business school. I mean, the whole idea of a business, plan, projections, quarterly reports, all of that's out the window. This is really the seat of your pants. Yep. You're either attuned to spirit or soul, and you have that direct connection. You're in the right place at the right time, or you're not. It's a very different way to show up.
Absolutely. And for example, I'm even in discussions with different business people, and if they're not in alignment with their own walk, mind, body, soul, which is really interesting, if they're not in alignment, they don't understand anything that I'm communicating. It literally is if it's not A, B, C, D in their book of whatever we're supposed to talk about, their textbook, they don't understand. So there is a bit of a disconnect there, and that's why I find that the mind-body connection is so important, because it's not necessarily only about health and wellness. It actually is how the rest of your life, the rest of what shows up in your life plays out. It is all
yeah, in other words,
related.
you're saying that's how we have to show up. We don't have any choice anymore. Either there's that balance of the three, that triangle that maybe is heart-centered, or we just we miss the boat, so to speak.
Absolutely. Well, and I was sharing with you earlier, I ended up, and I love what I do, and I'm passionate about helping other people. And I've got multiple facets in life that allows me to do that, including having the clinic and including other things. But I didn't realize that I was actually getting into a fear element. And that fear element was causing my mind to destroy my body. My soul was strong as anything. My soul was clear because I'm tapped in, but my body started shutting down, so much to the point that my doctor, first time in my life I've ever had this told to me, if you don't stop for a week, I'm putting you in hospital to make you stop for a week. You should have seen my face.
Yeah, that's pretty drastic.
I was shocked. But he was right.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah, he was right. It wasn't just the fact that I was beyond exhaustion, but even my blood tests were showing things that I thought, how is this possible? I supplement, I meditate, I exercise, I drink alkaline water. How is this possible? It's because I wasn't listening. My mind was telling my body to keep going, and yet even though my mind and my body were exhausted, I wasn't recognizing it. So there was a disconnect.
You know, I'm finding that with more and more of my clients as well, even to the point where they are physically harming themselves because they're not in their body. In other words, they're pushing the edge, trying to use the mind to solve it, or even in a sports related, they're, you know, making the jump ahead of time because they're trying to force something. They're not in the flow. So more and more, it's like either we're in the divine flow or in the zone, or we're not. And if we're not in the zone, there seems to be consequences that have to do with, you know, wellness, health, and even, you know, physical harm if we don't have that alignment.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because I am noticing the more aware someone is, the more they can push those limits. Because like you said, previous to now, we could push those limits and nothing will technically happen to us. We could just go and go, or push those limits to whatever extremes they would be, and we would be more than fine. Now there's that massive shift that has occurred, and that's not the case anymore. And to me, the mind-body-soul connection is more about honoring, not just connection and tapping in. And I had to relearn how to honor, to say, oh my goodness, I'm tired. I was recognizing my tiredness, but I was ignoring it completely. And then I found it was somewhat restlessness. I couldn't even sit still for 5 minutes to watch one of my favorite TV shows. Really? So that's when I thought, okay, I got to really think further into this. That disconnect is causing almost like a frazzlement. So I could still be connected soul-wise, but the mind and the body was completely being destroyed, which, you know what, our physical body has a time and a place, and we should honor that. I had to learn to, again.
Yeah, I mean, that's your whole focus is, you know, a healthy body. I mean, that's what you do. And so this must be really something for you as well, you know, having a wellness center. You know, physicality for you is extremely important, being in shape and because of your modeling and all the rest of it. So these other dimensions, you know, that are being added to your life and are equally as relevant for you now, it must be quite an eye-opener for you, and giving you an opportunity to help other people through this process themselves.
Yeah. Learning the balancing act is, I think, what my gift is, because I've always had to have that balance, or else I'd burn out really quickly. There were months at one point in my life, I didn't go anywhere except to work and home. I didn't go out with my friends. I barely went to the gym when people were there. I would go when nobody was there. Or I would go for walks in places where nobody else knew, or go for runs and paths that nobody else liked. And I knew that was because I needed to heal, but also at the same time, it was because it was overload. Actually, in our society, mind, body, soul connection, we're not necessarily understanding what an overload looks like. And I wasn't even understanding what an overload looks like because it was changing for me. So now I'm becoming more and more aware so that I'm not becoming frazzled and I'm not becoming disassociated, being out of this body and only being in the ethereal world, which isn't necessarily healthy either, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that that's the biggest thing with my clients is they're out of their body. You know, that whole expression beside yourself, that's exactly what it means. You're not in your body. And that can lead to all sorts of accidents and which really can be quite hurtful to the body.
Yes.
And even the disease and disorder is part of that, as your body, you know, has a message for us to wake up and to pay attention. So this shift out of your brain, you know, my clients, that your brain is not necessarily your friend. You know, it's just, it's an operating system, which is useful for the third dimension. But, you know, we're multidimensional beings, and that whole world begins and ends with the mind is a very limiting concept. And in fact, gets into us into a lot of trouble because it's only got the rational perspective or a linear concept of what we should be doing. And it's also conditioned by all the things that we've been taught, that we have to work hard and have to struggle in order to survive, and, you know, the survival of the fittest, and, you know, sit up, be straight, and be good, and, you know, pay attention or you won't succeed, and on and on and on and on and on and on. And what we're talking about is being able to move past all of that and just be comfortable with who we are, and then connect to source, which is a totally different process, which we never learned from anybody. This isn't being taught in schools, or it isn't available for the average person. So the average person is just overstressed to the max, trying to figure it out with their brain, working harder and harder like you were doing, and having less as they come to an absolute crisis, some sort of meltdown.
Absolutely.
So how did you come to the being able to turn that corner? What were the clues for you? Maybe other people might be able to identify when you mentioned your, you know, how you came to your moment of realization.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting. I want to touch on one quick thing before I get into that. When we were talking about survival of the fittest, one of my greatest teachers said to me, and this is probably 15 years ago, and I'll never forget it. They said to me, you already are the fittest, because the sperm that impregnated that egg is you. So that's already survival of the fittest. You've already made it. So drop that. Drop that back.
I mean, there were billions and billions and billions of sperm and eggs, and, you know, and you're the miracle out of that.
You already made it. So drop that backpack and let's move on. Like, when they said that to me, I went, oh, got it. You know? But I think for me, when I recognized, and it's interesting because humans, we're creatures of habit, aren't we? I mean, we create a habit and all of a sudden we're recreating it and don't even recognize it. So my habit of creation and recreation was, more often than not, I was up at 3 a.m. working. So I would have some meditation time, but then I'd get right into work. And I technically would be working from 3 a.m. until whatever time at night, really without a break. So time for me to tap out was almost non-existent. For example, I've been traveling a lot, as you know. I really only took some time off this year, and I didn't recognize it. But Tyhson, that was the first time I actually took time off for me that was longer than 1 or 2 days in over 5 years. That is unacceptable. That is absolutely unacceptable. And You know, people joke about being, oh, you're just a workaholic, Jenna. Or, oh, you know what, you wouldn't like it any other way. Are you flipping kidding me? I know how to waste a day. Thank you very much. I do know how to waste a day. And yet I thought, oh, I have to change that wording. It's not wasting a day. It's enjoying the day. See the difference?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I was already caught up in it. I was already caught up in the thought process that I created all by myself. I take full accountability. I was like, no, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to do that. And I was on this hamster wheel of destruction, and it was destructing me. So my gifts, my attitudes, my vibrational frequency, yes, it might be high, but it was nowhere near where it could have been. Not in the healing element. So when the doctor said to me, you need to take a week off and do nothing, it scared me so bad when I looked at the blood tests. And you know what? I thank my angels and my guides for this, because if it wasn't that way, I wouldn't have listened. Because they tried every other way. They tried broken friendships that people couldn't understand or couldn't keep up with me. They tried death in my family. They tried a relationship that broke up 4.5 years ago. They tried, oh, well, you know, her body is sore. They tried whiplash twice on me. I mean, they tried everything. But it was until I was actually facing a different way of mortality that I thought, oh, wait a minute, I'm doing all of these amazing things to support my body because I know I'm pushing the limit, but it's not working and it's really bad. Got it, I'm listening now. So I stopped. I took that as a big sign. I communicated with my staff. I communicated with my closest friends. I communicated with my boyfriend, and I said, this is where I'm at, and I need to slow down now. I really don't have a choice. And you know what, Tyson, it was hard because the first 2 days, I felt like I was giving up. So in that instance of me being open to what I was supposed to learn, I was actually becoming more aware, quite interestingly, because I was giving that space. I was giving myself that space to tap out, but I was tapping in. Interesting.
Yeah, it brings a new concept to the, you know, way back in the 70s, you said drop out. But it wasn't just dropping out of the status quo in the culture. It was really dropping into a higher level of understanding and being understanding that there's something greater than the chatter, the mind chatter of what our civilization is all about, the TV shows and the glamour and the glitz and the movie stars and the racing cars and whatever that we can get just overwhelmed with. And if we don't look the right way and whatever. And so dropping out of this is, you know, the first reaction, like you said, is, oh my goodness, you know, am I going to survive? You know, what is this? How do I, you know, how am I even going to accomplish anything in this week?
Yep, that's exactly it. What am I going to do? And yet I had amazing people that had my back.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting. It was quite interesting. But it really reinforced to me the mind-body-soul connection because, like I said, my soul was phenomenal and singing, but my mind and body weren't. But now that my mind is better, my body is so much better, my soul is even more better. It's more content. I sleep better. I enjoy my food more. It's really interesting because you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, you can't. Not anymore. You may be able to get away with it before, but now there's that, like you said, that triangle or interlocking circles. I love that graphic then in promoting this talk, you know, where there's 3 circles, and in the center where they all, you know, the Vesica Pisces where they come together has to do with wellness. So it's not one or the other, or even it's the balance between all 3. Certainly in this time, at this point in our lives, it's truth for us. And like you said, and the consequences of not doing it are dramatic. And I don't know about you, but I don't want those consequences anymore.
No, absolutely not. You know, it's interesting. You and I were having a conversation earlier. No, there's certain times in our life that, you know, I say this now, wow, like the first 40 years of my life were such a learning curve. And I'm grateful for everything that occurred, bad and good. Because holy smokes, I have all of this wisdom, and it's innate wisdom. It's what I've known before, but now I recognize it, and it's wonderful. And yet at the same time, I'm going, that is now a closed chapter. And I don't want to repeat those for the next 40 years. And I'm so grateful for that, because I really don't. You and I don't want the strife that we've gone through before, or the hardships that we've gone through before. You just don't want that. So how can we co-create differently now with this wisdom that we've gained? We're so lucky that we are that much more wise. Those that are awakened.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, because when we look around with those that are not awakened, and no judgment around this, because our job, you know, as, you know, planetary stewards, is to help awaken people to the degree of who they are. So, you know, what I'm about to say is not judgmental. It's saying, hey, we've been through that narrow gate. We understand what it is to pass through that eye of the needle. And when we look at what's happening with these other people, you know, with hurricanes and, you know, strife, and it's just, it's overwhelming. And to not have that connection to our souls and the guidance, it is a lost world for many, many people. It's overwhelming. And so our job is trying to help people understand that you don't have to live that way anymore. Yes, that's the way most of us did learn how to do it, to play this game of life, but it doesn't work anymore. So let's learn how to do this in an entirely different way. So I have an interesting question for you, because, you know, your life is as busy as it was before, but it's more ease and grace, because you're not having to struggle, because you're in the right place at the right time. Financially, how are you doing trying to push the envelope and make it all happen? Is there equivalency, or are you gaining? What's happening there?
Both. There's equivalency and gaining in different ways. So the alignment is really interesting with money, because I know for a fact, and I know this, that I'm always cared for. I know that. Am I a multi-millionaire today? No. Was I? Yeah. But I did some stupid things. So I also take accountability for that too. You know, there's a lot of times when you're not in alignment, you're listening to other people where to put your money, and you do it even though, you just know you shouldn't. Well, there you go. But it's also energy. So the more that you become aligned, and the more that you are doing what you know you're supposed to do, the more it comes back to you. It's just like I said to you today, for goodness sakes, I was just offered another movie part today. Really? That is such a beautiful gift. That is not something that I've asked for. It's not something that I'm putting out there. But, you know, I am trusting divine. I'm trusting the Creator to give me all that I need in order to provide and be provided for. And the more that I get, I can give. So whether it is monetary or vibrational, to me, that's the same fund. We have to play with bills, dollar bills, because we can't necessarily go to the grocery store and buy our eggs with a donkey, but we can with funds. So it's coming along. And I have to say, we've been open 1 year in our clinic today, in our newest and biggest location. Today is our 1 year anniversary. And I'll be very truthful, at the 4th month, I didn't know how I would make it a year. And here we are.
Congratulations, that's a big one. I mean, you got a lot on the line, a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of staff, a lot of people, and a big, huge vision on top of everything else that's happening.
Yes, exactly. And you know, it truly is, because not only have I tapped into the vision of what we need to do and where we're going with this, but those who are in the actual clinic are on board too. They get it. They get it. They're exactly where you and I are coming from, that, you know what, it is shifted. It is different now. Let's move forward. Let's make this planet a better place.
Yeah, I think that's exciting, and while it can be troubling at times, it is really, really exciting because
Mhm.
we're turning the corner, and we know we are turned a corner. I mean, the
Yeah,
clue is that what used to work doesn't work anymore. It's just that simple, and
yeah,
we can't go backward. It's sort of like crossing the Rubicon. Once you cross the river, you can't go back. We've been told this through mythology. We've been told this through time immemorial that there are certain levels or you know periods in our evolution where we just cross a point where we can never go back. Both personally and collectively, and now planetarily, we're reaching this point. And so helping other people understand this and that it's okay, even if they are in the midst of a horrendous struggle and it seems overwhelming, guess what? They may be very, very close to a breakthrough. Because if it wasn't for that crisis for you, if
yeah,
it wasn't, I don't know if we can say it's a near-death experience for you, but it was certainly a shakeup
yeah,
in which you had an aha moment which said, hey, wait a minute, I have to do this differently.
yeah.
And for most people, they have, whether it's a hurricane, Harvey, that's roaring down on them and they lose everything or whatever. For most people, unfortunately, it's something that's soul shattering that makes them reconfigure the pieces to say, hey, I can't do this the same way anymore. So we would like to help people do this with a little bit more ease and grace.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, we will. It's interesting knowing, and I was having a conversation the other day, it's interesting knowing, going through life and life's challenges, as difficult as they are, and sometimes you don't know how you're going to get through it. But I try to remind myself of something that has occurred in the past, because when there's that strife and that pain, for some reason out of that comes this beautiful growth factor. People I never would have met before that are in my life now. Opportunities that were given to me that never would have happened unless that severe strife or pain had occurred. So, it's not easy for the caterpillar to become a butterfly. It just is
Mm-hmm.
not. Coming out of that cocoon is extremely difficult. And there actually are stats, and I'm not sure what they are right now off the top of my head, but there are stats that some of those caterpillars actually don't ever come out of that cocoon. So
Mm-hmm.
becoming the flourished butterfly that you are to become is not easy. But the beautiful thing is, as humans, we all have that opportunity. And as spiritual beings first, that is what it is. So whatever strife we're going through, and I have to remind myself about this too, because I get down as well. I get frustrated. I get scared. I get angry. I mean, I'm still living and experiencing all those human emotions, especially with circumstances. And I have to sit and stop myself and again become mind, body, soul clear and connected to go, whoa, remember when that happened? And then if that didn't happen, none of this would have happened. So, you know what? There's something bigger here that I can't see right now, and that's okay. I just unfortunately have to be in blind trust moving forward with it and making sure that I'm doing my job, which is mind, body, soul connection. Making sure that I'm honoring what that is.
So that becomes your first job. I mean, really, doesn't it? Being a wellness practitioner in the way that you are, then that means, tuning in every moment in whatever way you can. And when you lose that moment, finding your way back as quickly as you can. So I'm assuming that those are the sorts of things that you teach other people how to do for themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for each person, it's different. Being a business owner, I'm constantly thinking on my feet. My brain probably works triple time because I'm constantly trying to think about how to make things better for those that work for me, how to make things better for those that actually trust us so we can serve them within the clinic, and how do I make things better for myself as a business owner. So, I'm constantly regurgitating and thinking things through, yet at the same time, I don't do anything unless I've actually felt it from my soul, felt it from source. If I make a business decision strictly on numbers and cents, and it doesn't work within my soul, work within my own innate intelligence, I can't move forward with it, even if I can't explain why. And every time that I forced myself to make a decision based on only numbers and bookwork, I've regretted it big time. And it's become quite a disaster.
So how do you do the reverse of that? How do you do the reverse of that? Because what you're saying is absolutely true. I mean, the old paradigm just doesn't work. You know, that's why it's a paradigm. It was a way of showing up in the world. It isn't valid anymore. You know, what you're talking about is a new triple bottom line, or maybe it's the quadruple bottom line, but certainly there's, you know, you're talking about the soul, mind, body connection, but there's also, you know, the planetary intent alignment, the social intent, you know, and the alignment between you and your staff. So all of those, you know, like two Tauruses or energy fields have to be de-nested, like a cord with each other for that. So it's sort of like you're becoming more of a conductor of energy than you are of a, you know, laying out a business plan, which is an intellectual going it, because it's really a symphony. You're becoming more of a conductor.
Yes.
So how are you doing that? Are you does it come from just being still and asking for guidance, or do you make a step forward and then tune in and see if it feels right? Like, what are some of the clues that you know that you're on track?
It's a little bit of all of the above, to be truthful, depending on what the scenario is. One of the biggest things that I know I do, and what I really want to do, is I never lose sight of the vision. I never lose sight of what really is important to everybody out there right now. And there's two major elements to it. One is healing and one is survival. And healing allows survival and survival allows healing. The two work together. So when I look at making a decision, I'm thinking, okay, I know what is lacking here. I need to bring in more business on that element. How am I going to do it? I have to do it this way. This way that allows this and this and this and this to happen. So there has to be almost that seesaw exchange, that give and take of matters at hand that are dictational and real and numbers and logic, and the element of why. Why are we doing this? What's the true why? And the true why is far larger than me. And the day I accepted that was the day that business decisions and how things have to look made more sense. Because I'm being guided in this just as much as you're being guided in your business. And it really is going, okay,
yeah, so
the vision, does it relate to the vision?
Yeah.
And does it make sense?
So vision is key.
Oh, absolutely. The vision is key. The vision and the mission statement is key. Yeah. You can't, to me, as a business person, you can't do it without.
Right.
And if we break
so the whole goal.
Yeah, if we break it down, and if we look at a relationship, okay, a married couple, they're a married couple, they're gonna fight about things, they're gonna have disagreements about things. Who doesn't? They're both humans. It's going to happen. Yet, you know, if the husband is looking at the wife and the wife is looking at the husband and saying to themselves, how best can I serve you? What can I do to serve you better? What happens to the argument? Pretty much becomes non-existent. Because both parties are willing to work together for the common good. And that is where alignment occurs. Same within business. How better can I serve that vision and that mission statement? How better can I serve gaining the dollars and cents on the paper? Then all of a sudden it comes into alignment. Well, this is give and this is give. To me, that's the best.
Right. So that alignment that you're talking about, you know, one of the other levels that I like to include is planetary intent. And what I mean by that is, you know, Gaia or Earth, you know, is a living being. We're part of that evolution of consciousness. So her survival, that planetary intent, when there's an alignment with social intent, then that alignment then allows the divine flow to flow through the process, and synchronicity begins to occur. So then you're in the right place at the right time, and towards it being more effortless and therefore not so much a struggle.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important point for people to realize that, you know, well, it may seem like you're giving up a lot when you let go of make this work and figure it all out. It's much easier on the other side when you are in the flow, because you're supported in every step of the way, and such a struggle. So that's the right sun on the horizon for those that are in the midst of struggle, is to just to make, and that there's people out there that can help you make the breakthrough. There's Jennas and there's the Tyhsons of the world. That's our job. And we're just a couple of steps ahead of you. It's not as though we're brilliant and we got it all figured out. It's not as though we don't have to get back into the flow every moment we get out. Doesn't mean that we got it all figured out. No. But we can help you make that change and transformation in your life.
Yeah.
So how do people get hold of you? Tell us about where your wellness center is. I know you've moved it recently. How do people find you? And where are you located? And all of that. And then I know that you do sessions at a distance. So how do people get hold of you that way?
Absolutely. So we are located in Calgary, Alberta, downtown Calgary, Alberta, on 11th Avenue Southwest. People can get a hold of us through our website, which is www.thewellnessbody.com. We do distance sessions for everything in the wellness clinic, and we actually even do distance sessions for people that maybe have some issues with their skin. We tend to do distance sessions on Skype, FaceTime, Zoom. We can do them over the phone. That is for psychology, hypnotherapy, body talk, Reiki, TAT, Psyche, all of the energy work. We can actually do distance work. So if someone's not in Calgary, it doesn't matter. We can still care for them and help them out. And a lot of the times if that person is within the Calgary vicinity and they can't come to us, we will certainly make an assortment of options for them so we can come to them. So if they're not comfortable with a Skype or a Zoom, then one of our practitioners will go and actually meet them at their home or at their office. So that's one of the best ways that we try to reach out. We want to technically be known as not just a business, but also as community outreach. We really like to do a lot of different things for community endeavors. But easiest way, go onto our website, www.thewellnessbody.com, and you can email us right off of that site, anywhere in the world.
So I have an interesting question for you. Is where do you see this all in 5 years?
The Wellness Body, or us as all?
Take your pick. Either or both.
I really do feel that the Wellness Body, the people that are part of the Wellness Body, the practitioners, they're just unbelievable, unbelievable people. And not just healers, but people and healers. And I can't say enough about the people that are there. And we are going to be global. We're already tapping into the global market now. And my dream is certainly to make sure that we are globally accessible for anybody that needs anything. And if we happen to not offer it, we will know someone who does. So that is my intention with the Wellness Body. Us as a race, as spiritual beings living this human experience, I think the next few years, in the next 5 years, it's going to be quite exciting times. There are massive breakdowns that are occurring right now as we speak, as we know politically. It's everywhere. I think the truth is going to be coming out. And I think the truth is going to be hard to swallow for a lot of people that aren't necessarily aware, and nor maybe they do want to be aware. And I think with that truth coming forward, there's going to be some healing. And I'm really quite excited for what the future holds for all of us. And saying that, having the connection to soul, having the connection to mind, having connection to the body, knowing that the three work together, I think is so important for right now. If we forget one facet, the other facets will take over, but only for a little bit of time. And that's what we're seeing planetarily as well. there's kind of a realignment going on that's beyond anything that we have expected. And I think 5 years from now, we're going to look back and go, wow, look what happened.
Well, Jenna, that's a great way to wind up the show. It's a good positive note. It sounds like a world that I want to be a part of, and the next 5 years does sound pretty exciting. Even in the midst of all this turmoil, we can see the light on the horizon. So thank you for being on the show. I very much appreciate it, and I love the vision that you're giving the world and people. If you need some help and you want to learn about that triangle of that health of the mind, body, then you know who to get hold of. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Tyhson. Blessings to you. Appreciate everything you do.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
For quality online wellness products, courses, and services, visit our sponsors, thewellnessstore.ca and the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy located at thewellnessacademy.ca. To stay in touch, visit us at thewellnessshow.ca. And until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.